In this tutorial, we're going to look at how we create an effective scene as part of an assignment task. So, and you'll see from the preview here that we've got an assembled lamp. This is from the higher specimen assignment from a few years ago, and I've got some walls there that we're going to use. I've also got some step files downloaded and an image that we're going to use as a decal, and I'm going to just take you through stage at a time how you put this all together. So first things first is you'll have gone through the process of making the model as described in your assignment task, and then it'll get to the point where you have to put this all together in a scene. So what you need to do is a new assembly model and create that. And then once that's loaded up, you're placing the component, and generally makes sense to start with the walls. So I'm going to open them up, and as I would normally do in any kind of assembly, I'm going to right click and place grounded at the origin. So that's the walls in, and what we need to be thinking about here is how we're going to put the other components or other models into this scene and the composition of that. So where are the models in relation to each other? Are we just sticking them in as they are? We rotating them? Various bits and pieces to make the scene look effective. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to place one of these step files. So I need to go to the step files bit. So place, like you normally would any sort of component, change the file type to step file just so it's easy to find, and then I'm going to open the coffee table. This window pops up. You can ignore pretty much all of that, just click OK. And then it comes. This has got some materials applied to it, but I can change that, so we don't need to worry. But obviously this is not how I want my coffee table to look, so I'm going to have to use constraints to get this into a position I'm happy with. So I'll constrain and use a constraint tool, and then mate the floor, or vice versa, doesn't matter which, to the foot of the table. Apply that, and then we should find that it is now sitting the right way up. I'm quite happy for the edges to be parallel to the table, to the walls, sorry, but you can change that if you wanted to. If we look at it from a plan view, and then we go to free rotate, and then click, so we get that symbol. There's a few different symbols that appear depending on where you hover over this. That's orbit, and it'll just sort of rotate it in all axes. This one will rotate it around sort of up and down the way, that'll do right and left, and then this one rotates it on that circle. So I could rotate it round a little bit if I wanted to, if I thought that that's going to make it look a little bit more effective, having the table at an angle. It's up to you. I'm going to leave it parallel. So I've got my table in. What I'm now going to do is I'm going to place in the other bits and pieces. So I've got a mug as another one that I'm going to use. So I'm going to open that, click OK, and I might just put in a couple of mugs. Again, they're just floating in midair, and if I look at it from the side on, it's absolutely no use there. So we just need to use our constraints again and mate the tabletop to, if we can find it, the bottom of the mug, like so. That's one of them. And what I might need to do is just move that out of the way a wee bit so that I can see it clearly. Get the bottom edge of the mug and the tabletop again. Okay, and then finally I need to put in the model from the assignment. So again, this is looking at the inventor files. Just do all files just now. I'm looking for my assembled lamp, and I'm placing that in. And then once again using the constraint tool to join it to the tabletop. Now, this is where the composition bit comes in, because what we might want to do is think about how things are positioned. At the moment, not particularly an effective layout. So they are all mated to the tabletop. So if I just move that, that's still attached to the tabletop, just moved to a different position. So you might want to think about, where you're going to position the objects, and then think about, would these objects be sitting sort of perfectly placed like they are at the moment? Probably not. So again, if I look at my plan view and click the lamp, for example, go to my free rotate and rotate that around a little bit, that maybe looks a little bit more how you would expect that lamp to be sitting on that table. Similar for the mug, chances are handle's going to be facing out the way, so free rotate that and put the handle facing out the way. Then do the same for this one, maybe just rotate it around a little bit like that. So again, it's just using sort of common sense and moving the objects so that it looks a little bit more normal, if you like. So that's me got all the component parts in. What I need to think about now is the materials. So I'm going to click the table because okay, it's brown, but probably not the best idea. Let's say that in the assignment it tells you that that table is made from wood. So what I would want to do is from my appearance drop-down menu, find a material that looks or would be a sort of wood material. So let's go walnut and natural and polished. If something like this comes up, just remove the associativity, that's fine. Okay, so it might not look much just now, but once we render it, it should look a little bit more realistic. I'm going to leave the mugs as they are. That's just when I've downloaded them. That's the material that's come with it. Happy with that, that'll do. But let's have a look at the lamp, because at the moment it is just white, I think. So if I double click it, it becomes the active component. I can click that object, and it's just on default at the moment. So let's say we're going to make it sort of chrome or a metal. Let's see what we can find, or copper perhaps. Let's just go for copper polished. And just make all the component parts that material, like so. Okay, and then let's think about the walls. So what I might want to do here is make these two walls white. So if I've double-clicked the model and then I've clicked that surface, and it should now allow me to just make that wall. Let's go with smooth, medium grey. You can see there that it's just that wall that's done that. So it's maybe got a sort of grey, medium grey paint on it. Let's see if we can find something maybe like contrasting with that. So let's go dark sea green, why not? Okay, and then some sort of material for the floor. Go with, just trying to maybe get some sort of wood finish. Maybe go like sort of laminate flooring, that sort of idea. So there's materials applied. In an assignment task, it'll tell you what materials to apply where. But the next thing that we need to think about is that in most assignment tasks, you're asked to decal an image onto your model. So to do that, this is going to be a poster. It's going to go on the wall. I'm going to put it onto the green wall here. So going back into that model, double clicking it, starting a sketch on that surface, and then going to the insert bit along here and image. I'm then going to find the image, so I called it landscape poster. There it is there. Click open and it'll bring it in. Now, it's going to bring it in either huge or the wrong way round or something like that. And what you can do to change this is when you click the object, each corner does something slightly different. There's a bit of trial and error to work out which one to do. Usually it's the top right. Okay, top right moves it. Top bottom right will scale it. So let's scale it down to a little bit of a sort of more sensible size, and then move it perhaps into sort of centered position on that wall. You can dimension this like you would anything else, so you could make that exactly 1.2 meters long. You could then dimension it to be exactly a size from above, from the top of the wall, and then, you know, that an exact size if you wanted to, but you don't have to. You can if you want to. So once you've done that and you've got the image in position, you're not quite finished with this, because like in any sketch, without doing some sort of 3D create to it, then nothing will happen. So I need to use the decal option up here. I then click the image and click the surface that I want it to be applied to, and then I click OK. Dimensions have all gone because I've done something with it. That's it now, ready to go. So I can now return to the assembly model as a whole, and then I'll be thinking about the usual bits and pieces to get this into a position to make it look realistic. So I'm going to go to View, I'm going to change it to Perspective, and then rotate it slightly so that I can see the room in its entirety. Again, usually what you're going to be asked for in an assignment is one that shows the room as a whole, and then a second render that would show the model that you've created off a little bit more in detail. Something like that might be what you aim for. I'm going to do the full scene first. You can zoom in beyond that, that should still show me the whole thing. If not, we're only chopping off a little bit, that's not the end of the world. I'm going to do the whole scene render first, and to do that, once you've got it set up, we're going to Environments and Inventor Studio. This will then load up a lighting environment, and as long as you don't really need to change anything at the moment for this, all you need to do is go into your render image option. You can then change your lighting styles, and hopefully what will happen here is when I change to cool light, for example, it will change the preview that you see here. Sometimes it doesn't do it. I would avoid one that's got some sort of background to it, because you'll see what you would see when you render it, that it's just not going to quite look right. So pick one of them that you think will give you a sort of good lighting to your scene, and you might want to just change the aspect ratio to something that's a little bit bigger. Once you've done that, output is fine. Renderer, the longer you send the render off, or to do it, the better the image will be. So I'm going to change the render time to 5 minutes, leave everything else as is, and then click render. A window pops up like this, and then once it starts rendering, you'll see that it starts to process your render. So after 5 minutes, we will get the finished article. So I'm going to stop the recording at the moment, and then we'll come back in 5 minutes to see how it looks. That's the 5 minutes up, and you can see here that certainly the quality of the render is looking pretty good now. And we can scroll up and down and see that the image is quite large, but of course we can use photo editing software afterwards to trim it down so it's just the scene that we're looking at. But if you're definitely happy with it, you can save the image and move on to the next bit, or you can set it to render again if you want. Once you've saved the file, you can then go back to your scene. You can zoom in on the individual object that the assignment's about, and you can set that off to render again. So I'll just start that just now, make sure that it's definitely going to show me what I wanted to see. So obviously zoomed in a wee bit too much there, so I'm just going to cancel that one, zoom out slightly, start off again, and you can see now, I'll see the whole lamp. I give it another 5 minutes, and then we will come back and look at the end of this. Okay, that's our 5 minutes for this render, and again you can see that we've got a high quality render out of that, that shows off the individual object from the assignment. Okay, so that's using Inventor to create 3D renders, but of course you can use Fusion 360 if you've been able to get that working properly. So I'm just going to save this file just now. As you can see, I've done some before in the past for this, so that's fine. And I'm just going to close Inventor Inventor Studio just now. So to put this into Fusion 360, I need to make this a step file. So to do that, I just go to File, I go to Export, CAD Format, and then choose the step file. Assembled scene would be fine. Don't have any other files called that, so just save that file. Okay, then I would need to go into Fusion, which is just restarting. So then I would need to go into Fusion. I would upload, so create your project for this, upload the file. You can either drag and drop or select the files. So assembled scene is the step file I'm looking for. Open that and upload it. Depending on the file size, it'll vary on how long it's going to take to upload. Shouldn't take too long though. And once it has uploaded, you'll be able to edit it. Okay, so close that, double click the uploaded model, and it can sometimes come into Fusion slightly differently to how you would expect it to. So for example, when I look at the front, I'm looking at underneath the floor, which is obviously not what we want to do here. So what you need to do is look at the object from where you want the front to be, right click the view cube here, and then set current view as front. Okay, you can see now the ground plane is underneath it. That's what we would want it to be. It's all exactly as I had assembled it. The decal's gone, but we can add that back in. It's got materials there, but you may want to change them to the materials that you can get through Fusion 360 as they are a little bit higher quality. So we're going to, instead of design, render. Changes how you see things and the options in your ribbon here. So first thing I want to do is deal with the appearance. So that's your color wheel. When I click that, this comes up. Now it will pick up some of the materials that are already there, but what you might want to do at this point is just delete them and get rid of those if you can. Unassign delete, there we go. And you'll see, hopefully, that as I work my way through that, the materials come off of the object. Okay, some will go, some won't, but that's fine. So once you sort of get it back to defaults as best you can then start thinking about the materials that you're going to apply. So let's say first of all I want to look at paint. Okay, so I'm going to go for smooth, and this is what I'm going to use for the walls. So let's say I'm going to go for, again, click in this situation the individual surface you want the material to go onto, and then just drag and drop it onto that surface. Now these colours might not be what you want them to be, so what you can do is you can right click and duplicate it, right click and edit, and then you can start sort of playing about with the colours that you see. So I'm going to go for, let's go sort of navy this, or a very dark blue this time. Okay, so once you've got what you want, click OK, it'll give you a bit of a preview of it. Click the surface again, drag and drop the material on. Okay, it doesn't look very dark here, but once we render it, I'm sure that will change. Okay, and then we might want to do a flooring. So again, I'm going to go for a wood flooring because I'll need that for my table as well. So I'm going down to wood, and I'm going to pick solid, so that I get on a 3D, an object with more than one surface, you'll get end grain. So that's what I'm going to aim for. I'm going to go for finished, and I'm going to make the floor, let's go a semi-gloss oak this time. If that symbol's there, you just need to download it so that you can then use that material. Flat surface, can't use it on that, so I'll use that for the table then. Okay, give it a second, and you can see that there, that's that loaded into that. Now, what I might want to do here is, because that's just on the tabletop, is if I select the coffee table in its entirety and drag that material to it, remove that, that's fine. You can see the whole thing has now turned to oak. So for the flat surface, I'm going to have to use the wood option there. So again, I'll maybe go with mahogany this time for the flooring. Oh, that didn't work. Did it wrong. That didn't pick up the surfaces that we expected it to. There we go. Okay, so close that, and then we just need to deal with the decal. So that is this option here. We need to find the material, the image, so insert from the computer, find the poster again, and click the surface that we want it to go onto. Come in a bit more of a sensible size this time, and you can drag that into the position you would like. Okay, so now we need to think about lighting, because obviously it's a little bit dark on this wall, and you can see the light is obviously coming from over here. So two things you could do. I could change it so that I'm basically changing where the front of the object is. So if I change it so that this, for example, is the front, then you will find that the lighting will change. The shadow's now being cast across the back, light shining onto the white wall. If I made this the front, light now shines on there. Now it looks very bright, but once we render it, you'd find that it wasn't quite as bad as that. Alternatively, you can look at your scene settings. You can go to your environment library, and then it's just a case of dragging and dropping a lighting style in and seeing what happens to the lighting. And then again, you can just find the one that you might think is going to give you the best lighting for the room. So warm lighting, I think that looks quite good. Again, what we're ready to do now, I've not put the material on the lamp. Let's just go back to materials. Let's find some different materials to put on here this time. So let's maybe go with a metal. Let's go brass for the shade and the base, but this time perhaps I will use something different for the stem. Don't know what, let's just make something up. Black chrome onto the stem. I'll just leave the mugs as they are. Okay, so again, similarly, what we would be looking to do is get a render of the scene in its entirety. So position it in such a way that you can see the whole thing, and then we are going to click render. This window pops up and there's just a few bits and pieces that I would recommend that we're changing. So image size, first of all, we want it to be quite a big file. So I usually go for this one, the 7.2 megapixel for the print. That should be fine. What I can see should be fine. So I just click render. That now sends this process off to the cloud. And you can see that we've got a timer here that will take however long it takes for this render to come through. While we're waiting, I can reset my scene, zoom in on my lamp, for example, and click render. And all the settings are as they were, that's fine. So I just click render again and wait for that to complete. So we'll stop the recording just now and come back when that's ready. So that's those renders completed, and if I click the sort of magnifying plus there, that'll open up a preview of the render. As you can see, it's very high quality, happy with that. And then you use this option here to download. If you want to, you can set the background as transparent and use any of those file types as you see fit. And you can go through your renders with the right and left arrows.